Hello, we're back with another episode. We're here. It's Motivation Monday, Met Gala Monday.
Ooh.
It's a lot. The Mondays are big days.
Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. I was literally, like right now before this, I was literally watching the Met on live because I like to see people's outfits and I like to judge people's outfits in a good way. But I was really curious on if the Kardashians were going to go because you know how they said there was a rumor on TikTok that they got uninvited?
Did you see that North got invited?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, it's a rumor that North is also invited.
Oh.
That's going to be crazy when you get invited to the Met. What how old is she? 8?
Yeah.
Or 9?
Mm-hmm.
There's a rumor that she might also.
Well, they say her net worth is like 300 million, no?
I saw that.
Like when you're 8 and your net worth is 300 million. Oh, like
Period.
normal?
Period. I think she might be. I wouldn't invite North if I was like a designer.
Honestly, yeah. I like North attitude. Her attitude. Like she has a little bit of attitude on her.
She's
But
careless.
I like that. Mm-hmm.
She say that she's a mini Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
She
I
is.
used to not like Geminis for a long time, and I would be a Gemini hater. But I discovered that Geminis are actually really smart people. I don't know who decided that they had a bad rep, but I had a dream the other day of my Gemini friend, actually yesterday. And I was thinking today about Geminis, and I was like, Geminis are really interesting because they say that they're the sign that's every sign in one.
Crazy.
So they can see any side, and they can put their emotions. Imagine being every sign in one.
It's a lot.
But they're very like analytical. Like they can see so many sides, emotional, like logical. And I think that's why Kanye's so smart. I mean, I don't know what's going on now with his thing. I used to really not like him because he would trigger me. But I'm like, well, maybe he just, I don't know. It's his form of expression now to be cray-cray.
Yeah. Well, he did say that he thinks he has a form of autism. So maybe.
But he's also been diseased with a bunch of stuff.
He says he's not bipolar.
Well, yeah, that is true.
Who knows? We don't
I
know
mean,
the
one
truth.
time I got misdiagnosed with bipolar. And then for a long time I thought I had bipolar, and I was like, maybe I do. And then I discovered that I do not have bipolar. I have borderline, which is very different. And I told my therapist about it, who I had seen for a long time. And she was like, well, no, because if you had bipolar, you would know because your life would go to like, it goes to like shit. Like you do crazy things. And I would be like, well, I do this and that. And then she'd be like, yeah, but like, that's not really, she was like, I was like, I have shopping paralysis. She was like, but real people with like bipolar, like buy like crazy things, like a carat, like a 19 carat thing. And like, it's something that they can never afford. But Kanye was kind of, if you think about his behavior, he kind of was. So he shouldn't blame the people for thinking that he had it because he was displaying some of those behaviors.
Yeah. I wonder what he's been. I mean, he'll maybe never really come out with like exactly what he's been talking, but I wonder if he's been to like the psychiatrist and they've told him like, you have this or this. I wonder.
Yeah.
I bet he has. I mean, I feel like he has
The money
to go to like the best psychiatrist ever. But also he gets episodes. Sometimes, you notice like he'll be fine and then he'll like go on like an
Manic?
episode and then he'll get off of that episode and then he'll be like normal.
That is kind of expressing though, like a little bit about, because bipolar you go through manic, which you could also misdiagnose that with like seasonal depression, which I feel like I get that when it starts to get darker or like it gets colder, I get really depressed, especially when it's cloudy. It's really hard for me to get motivated when it's a cloudy day. But I mean, I still have to get things done. I mean, things are still gonna get done. But when you get manic, like you think that you can do a lot of things, which I get manic, but I get manic like hourly though, which I don't think it's the same thing. But my sister told me that one time she worked in a school. She used to work in a school where people would come with a lot of mental like illness, and that she talked to someone who like had a manic episode, and they were going around telling people they were like Jesus Christ. Like that's very well. Remember we were recently analyzing a lady. I was trying to diagnose someone on the street, but it's crazy. I've been sending you videos of people on the street. Did you see the video?
Yeah,
where she was like,
that's
I
so
hear
sad.
people where you hear voices, like your brain kind of starts to, what did we say the word? Kind of starts to like betray you, and it starts to make things up in your head that aren't really there.
Yeah. Yeah, because I always like homeless people always like their stories always were interesting, I guess, to me. Like I guess I would want to know how they got to the point that they're at. Because, like, I know like, obviously, maybe for some it's drugs or, like, childhood trauma. But, like, that lady you sent, and there's many cases like that. Like, that lady that was, like, a model, and then, like, she ended up on the streets. And then also there's this basketball player.
Oh, I've seen that one.
That he was a really good basketball player. He was even playing with LeBron, and, like, now he's on the streets. And, what's his name? Mark Cuban tried to help him. He sent him to rehab, and he spent a bunch of money on him, and he still, after, he ended up on the streets again. Like, I wonder, I guess it's mental illness, but I wonder, like, what happened. Like, I wish I could see their full story. Like, everything, like, from the point where they were born to now, like, what went wrong? Like, what happened?
Yeah, because we were talking
like,
to
the
some friends
timeline. What happened?
about, remember when we were talking to Neto? We were like, well, he was like, I think it's a disease home, because there's some people who like to live on the streets, right? There's some people who don't want, and it's crazy for, like, people who, us, that we're blessed and we have a home, that we would not want to be on the streets, but there's people who actually do want that, but then there's people who are forced into it. And, like, my dad has a brother. You know, my dad, he has a brother who is, like, on and off drugs, and he's been on and off drugs since he was, like, I don't know. And my dad always, I don't really ask my dad about it because he doesn't share, so I kind of don't want to ask him, but he's always been, like, the bad child in, like, his family. You know, like, when you're, like, the baddest or something, and, like, they don't know what to do to help him, and, like, they always, like, I don't know, they're always trying to, like, get him to not do it, but at this point, he's almost, like, 50 years old. Like, clearly, like, probably he's not going to change. But I was thinking about that today too. I was like, I wonder, like, what makes someone in one family get to the point where they need to do that, and then some of the other members don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the same thing with, like, my dad and his brothers. Like, my dad is a triplet, and one of the brothers is homeless, and he chooses to be homeless because they've tried to get him off the streets many times, and he literally says he can't live in a house. Like, he doesn't want to live in a house. He wants to live, like, he has, like, a camper, but so he lives there, and he's, like, on drugs, obviously, and, like, he doesn't want help, though. Like, he just doesn't want it. And, like, as much as my dad and my uncle try to help him, it's just, like, he just doesn't want to. And that's kind of crazy to me, too. I'm like, I guess everyone, like, I feel like I've told my mom about this, and she's like, well, there needs to be different people in the world, like, so the world can go around. Like, not everyone is similar. And I'm like, that's true, but I just don't comprehend. There's some things in the world that I'm still trying to learn and comprehend, and then that is something that I don't really understand, like, that. So I think it's kind of interesting, to kind of dissect it. And, like, I don't know. And even, like, the other day we were eating, and we saw this lady who, I don't know if she had, like, schizophrenia or what was going on, or she was on drugs. But when someone would offer her food, so someone offered her food, and she, like, kind of snapped into, like, reality. She was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, really normal, like, super normal. And then once they walked away, she started, like, saying all these other things again. And then I heard her kept saying, because we were at, like, a smoothie place, and she kept saying, strawberry banana. So I knew that she was kind of picking up on, like, things that maybe she's hearing, like, maybe the smoothie place says strawberry and banana. And so then, like, a couple minutes later, she goes into the smoothie shop, and then she orders a strawberry and banana, but she doesn't have enough money. So then I give her money, and then she kind of snaps into back to normal. Like, she says, oh my God, thank you so much, like, bless you, like, thank you, blah blah. And then again she, like, starts talking. So I'm like, what's going on in the brain? Because obviously she knows, like, that someone's giving her stuff, and she knows, like, thank you, and she, like, knows things, but then she snaps back into, like, her world, and that's crazy.
Yeah,
like, what's going on in there?
I know. I was trying to, like, observe what was going on, but I couldn't understand it. But I never really shared this. I never shared this on anything because I didn't really want to before, and also I was really little. But I feel like I'm very emotional. Every emotion that I feel it very intensely. And sometimes it helps me. Sometimes it doesn't because I react way too emotionally. And when I was little, I was really depressed. I was like going through like a lot of things, and I went to a mental hospital for like, and they put you for 3 days. But when I was in there, I was able to, I had a lot of experiences. So I was able to see people that had a lot of mental issues. And me was more so that I had like extreme anxiety and abandonment from my mom, but not like, it wasn't that I was like really needed to be on meds, because I haven't been on medication for a really long time. So I don't think that I need it, but there are some things that like I have issues dealing with. And I remember when I was in there, I saw this girl who was in the room with me. And I remember she kept saying that she was seeing someone outside. And I was like, what? And she was little. Like, I was generally scared for myself, because I was like, oh my God, what if there is someone? And I'm already someone who gets paranoid. So I was like, oh my God. So I kept going to the window, and I would ask her to tell me where this man was. She was like, he's right there. Like, you don't see him? And I was like, no. I was like, I don't see him. And I was like, oh my gosh, she actually has like a really bad schizophrenia, because that's what I was assuming it was, because I've always kind of psychoanalyzed people. And then I got out, and then I went to therapy, and I kind of like got better. But I was telling my sister, I was like, when I was in there, I never like to be the person to be like, people have it better than you, so you shouldn't be like sad, because everyone has something better than you, and everyone has it worse than you. So just feel your feelings. But when I was there, I was like, you know what? I was like, wow, like this kind of gave me a perspective of like, I'm like over here like crying on over whatever I was feeling. But it showed me now that I'm an adult that I'm like, I can't keep blaming like my childhood and everything that happened for my behavior, because I'm blessed that like my brain is still here with me, and like this is not happening to me. And she was little, the girl. I remember, I think I was like 12, so she must have been like 8, small. She was small. And can you imagine at like 8 years old? I'm like, I don't think she would be lying about something like that. Like, it was really happening to her. And aside from her, and I saw like way more people, but that's something that like I need to like get more, I need to like think about more, because I kind of forgot, because it was like 10 years ago. But it's crazy how your brain can just flip on you like that. And that's why they were saying that when you get, what is it, dementia, that it's the same thing, that your brain, you know how people don't forget things, and they kind of like that the trauma comes back to your brain. So the brain is so it's crazy how sensitive our brain is, and sometimes we don't think about brain health that much, and like what we put in or what we consume. It is, or the things that you tell yourself, like, you know how every day the thoughts that you have, tomorrow you're probably gonna have those thoughts. And I think that when people tell you things when you're little, like, you're dumb, you're this or that, like, the brain starts to believe it, and then one day, like, it can't take it anymore. And that's what we were thinking about the lady, right? We're like, because she kept kind of, when Sarah went and got the smoothie, I was still watching her, and she would be like, you're stupid, like, she kept saying like things. I was like, I wonder why those words are the ones that she keeps repeating. But that's why it's really important to have self-affirmations. Like, they can work too. And then when we have kids, like, to not really like say those type of things, because like I know sometimes we think we're helping people, but we're not by saying that. And it can go to extreme cases like that.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah. And then when she I also brought this up to her in the moment, someone had given her food, and I'm just remembering this because it's kind of all coming back, and she's like, I feel like she was about to eat her food that someone had given her, and then she tells herself, leave it alone, don't touch it. And I felt in that moment when she said that to herself, I felt like, what if her mom was like mean to her with food or something, and like she didn't allow herself to eat, she told herself to not touch it? And what if she was having a flashback in that moment? It's crazy how you don't know what people go through in their lives. And I don't know, I feel like if I wouldn't have gotten help, I'm not saying I would be like that, but I had really bad anxiety. I remember I would see visions. I would see ladies and figures and certain things. And I remember telling my therapist, like, I think I have schizophrenia because I literally see things. Like, I see monsters, like literal monsters. And she was like, I just think your anxiety is really high right now. And you can have visions. Like, what is it called?
Delusional.
Like, what is it called? There's a word, but what's people with schizophrenia get?
I know
like hallucinations.
Hallucinations.
Yeah. You can get hallucinations when you have really bad anxiety, and so after I learned that and I calmed my anxiety down, my hallucinations would kind of go away, but I was hallucinating for a really long time. And I would see certain animals or things move on the floor. And this was when I was really small, though. So I think I started receiving help also really small. So all of that, I've learned to kind of like heal that part of me. But it is really crazy. And it's like, but did you know that women are more prone to being paranoid, depressed, and anxious, and men are more prone to being a narcissist? Most women are really paranoid already. Like, we are that way, and it's crazy.
That is true, because I used to think that like only people that had trauma were paranoid, but now that I'm an adult and I deal with lots of people on the daily, like I go here, I go there, and I talk to people, and I'm very talkative, so I'll talk to people a lot, and I have this thing where a lot of people like trauma dump on me. Like when I tell you, like I'll go like doing like a service with someone, and by the end of the service, I think I overshare a lot, so people just feel like they can tell me stories, and I hear a lot of women's stories, which I love hearing because I get better to be on the pod. I know more things, and I get to relate with people, and I feel like women are so similar. Like, we're always worried about the same things. Like, but women are very paranoid. Like, I feel like the TikToks, I don't know if you've seen, I think you've sent me some of them too, where it'll be like, being a girl is so easy. And then they show like a video of like guys are so annoying to women too. Like, and I feel like that's also why we're like that. Like, I don't know, just like.
Well, did you know that they did a study also, me like with my little facts, that women's biggest, so they asked a bunch of men what their biggest fear is, and then they asked a bunch of women what their biggest fears are. And men's biggest fear, what do you think it is?
Getting killed.
No, that's funny that you say that, but no.
Mine would be.
Men's biggest fear is humiliation, and women's biggest fear is murder.
Yeah, that's mine.
So, like, look at that comparison. Like, men's brains don't even go there sometimes. Like, they're like, I just don't want to be humiliated. Like,
dude,
that's like my biggest
crazy.
fear. And women, we're like, we don't want to get murdered. Like, we think like, and it does make sense. Say, like, with women are more paranoid, it would make sense that they're more paranoid about like things like murder and like things like that. In men, it's like humiliation. And it's funny that more men are narcissists, because narcissists don't want to be humiliated. So I think there's kind of a connection there.
Maybe, I mean, I don't know the facts of but I love thinking biologically. I love going back to like the old like caveman times, because it tells us a lot about how you know that there used to be an old brain and there's like a new brain. Remember like on half of our brain is old, right? And then there half of it is new. And I think maybe this could be correlated, because in the old times, like women would stay home and like the men would go out. So men always had like hunt and survive, like hunt mindset, and women had to take care of the kids. So we had more time, even since like the get-go, to get in touch with our emotions and build bonds with our children. And men didn't really think about that, and all they really cared about was being like the ones that could hunt the most, right? I'm assuming, or being like the leaders of the pack. So it's still going on to this day. We just don't really see it. And now men have the ability to be more in touch with their emotions. I just think that they're subconscious, and like their families or their friends. Guys care so much about what their friends think. And sometimes they don't want to admit it. They'll be like, no, like, I don't care. But they do. And a lot of the things that they do is to impress other men. Because I used to be like, oh my God, that's so annoying. Like, you literally like your friend. Like, that's why you're doing that. But no, I think it's biological. I think that they want to be seen like strong. And us, we don't really think about that. Like, we're thinking about serious things like in our brain, or like worried about other stuff. Yeah. And that goes back to the same thing. I think they might be more biological than us. Maybe they're more biologically wired. And since they're more visual, that would make sense.
Yeah. I always thought it was like, I feel like men need to be studied. I feel like we still don't know a lot about men. It's crazy. Like, maybe we do, but I want to know why, like, they cheat more. I want to know why.
I think because they're more, well, remember what I said in the last podcast? They're more prone to risky behavior. So if you're more prone to risky behavior, you're not willing to think things through. And women think everything through. Like, we can have so many examples where like I'll say something and then she'll be like, I don't know, like they're thinking that though, like a guy. Like, I think every possible little scenario through, where I just wouldn't even like get, my worst fear is getting caught like doing something wrong, or like I have paranoia where if I'm telling her like, yeah, I don't know. Like I told her I was gonna go. Like I told my sister I was gonna go, but I'm not going. And then I have to check my phone to see if I'm not calling my sister. I don't know why I have that. I just made that little like tick kind of in my head. But I hate getting caught. It's one of my like things. And I noticed that women in general think less women go to jail, right? And I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I could be wrong. I have never looked this up. But because men do risky stuff. I don't know why they're like that, but they're more prone to being alcoholics too, right? I think so. Like we could just like they do shit like that, and I wonder too what part of the brain is doing that. What part of their DNA is different that doesn't make us like that? Because we're a little bit more.
That's why I feel like they should be studied more.
And you know that I think since the 2000s there were more, or I think 1980s. I'm wrong on the date. Maybe there was more studies. All the studies we had about health and the body were about men. They weren't even studying women yet.
Really?
Yeah, they barely started studying women. But I think that there's probably someone who's controlling the media too. We don't really know what we're reading, like, and they could do things just to sell or like, you know. But
yeah,
there has to be something in their brain that is making them do stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
There has to be.
Men are interesting. Like I always do want to know more. Like they're so funny. They're just like the things that they do. I'm like, oh, I don't get it. I'm a girl, but. Like and then they act like they're so simple-minded. But why are you more prone to be a narcissist and a psychopath and a killer and an alcoholic if you're so simple-minded? I don't know.
That is true.
It's kind of weird. And then like, why are girls can probably forgive cheating more and men can't forgive it at all if they're more if we're more emotional? Like it doesn't. I don't know. Are women forgiving? Like we're just like really sweet forgiving angels.
And then men, when they forgive you, they don't really forgive you.
No.
I was just hanging out with my dad today, and like I grew up with my dad, so I feel like I know a lot. I think I know a lot about how like men act, but no, because my dad, like, he's like from like, you know, Mexico, and like, so he has a lot of mind from like those times. But I did learn a lot growing up about how men act and how they are. And my dad, I was like watching, like, I've always known how men are so simple, like wake up, eat, repeat. I think, swear to God, that's how men are. Like, they get ready so fast. Like, they don't even think about things. And, like, I grew up with that. So my dad kind of had to learn how to, like, wait for me and, like, do these things for me. And because I'm a girl, obviously. But you know how my mom cheated on my dad. And he still hasn't forgiven her to this day. I mean, they're not together, obviously. Like, she has her own her other partner. But, like, I've always wondered if he could forgive her. And I was like, honestly, no. Because you know how, like, suppose, like, that they have to do something together soon. And, like, I'm wondering if they'll, like, fix it. I don't think he will. My dad is so, like, sentido. And that's what, and I always talk about, that's why I learned that men really hurt. Like, think I'm his daughter. So, obviously, like, if I do something, he's going to forgive me. Like, I'm a daughter. But they're so sensitive. I remember my dad, throughout my whole childhood, like, he would cry so much. So, to me, like, I'm like, oh, all men can cry, right? Like, because he would cry all the time. And I know it sounds probably like, oh my God, but I swear, like, all the time he's very emotional. And so I thought that was normal. And then when I started dating, I'm like, damn, it's not normal for men not to cry. I think my dad probably, just because he was a single dad, and like, I think he's just like that personally. But he would cry a lot and like kind of express himself and kind of explain why he was acting the way he was. And he would apologize to me a lot too. So that's why it made me kind of like, oh my God, maybe one day, like, I want to have a man who's able to do that. But it's been very hard to find that. And I don't know where he learned it. Maybe because he was in his feminine, because he had to like kind of be a mom and a dad. But men don't really do that these days. I wish they knew they could. And even though we talk shit about men all the time, I feel kind of bad for them when I hear like little boys and their parents are like, don't cry, like, you're a boy, like, because you're like, I mean, but you're so human, like, you still feel, it doesn't change.
Yeah, sometimes I feel bad when we drag them too, because like only they know how they feel, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes, like, us women, we want them to be so emotional, we want them to like the things that we want to do, we like them to like we want them to do like girly things and like do this with me and like be emotional, please, like, but they just don't have that capacity, and then it gets them frustrated, and then there's tension in the relationship. I feel like I've always struggled with that in like all my relationships, where I want them to be like in their feminine and do feminine things with me, like, let's take a pottery class, or like, let's do this, it'll make us closer, and they don't want to. They're like, no. And I mean, sometimes I think like, well, if they love me, maybe they would do it. But I think I've heard it in many relationships, like not just mine. I think it's very common for men not to want to do like the girly things, I guess, or not even girly things, just more things that are more like quality time. I heard that a lot of guys, when you ask them what their love language is, like they don't really say quality time. I think it's just like in their, I don't know. And I see this a lot. It's not just like, I've seen it everywhere. Like even on TikTok, girls talk about like, oh, like they don't want to do things with me, but I feel bad for them sometimes. I'm like, oh, imagine not wanting to do something and like someone keeps putting in your ear. I hate when people do that to me. So like, I can only imagine. And since I'm not with someone, when other people tell me like you should do this or let's go do this, and I don't want to, it is annoying. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, they must feel like really annoyed and frustrated. Like, please stop. Let's do something that I want.
I think also they feel that way because like they weren't even allowed to be like that in the beginning, and so like to just ask them to be like that later on is like, what? Like I wasn't even allowed to do that before, so why am I? But I think I have a theory of my like what I've seen, and also my sister has like kids and they're boys, and so before like she had them, like it was all girls in our family, like me, my sister, my niece, were all girls, and then my dad would like deal with us, right? But like by looking, like seeing that first experience, like firsthand, I feel like boys are gentle, and like they are, especially when you see them little. It's because when they're older, they've already been like society, and they've heard things, and like and their friends, like school boys, you know how boys are, like the boys are different than girls. So but I think when you see a boy with his mom, a little boy, like boys really love their moms, and like they're very like nurturing, and like I was talking to my nephew, he's like 3, so he's still pretty little, and then he'll be like, the puppy, like he likes cute things. So I'm like, that's where you see that like boys can be like that, and there are men who are more in touch with their feminine, and I think that's good. I feel like they should be like that. And I noticed some guys that they'll be in touch with their feminine sometimes, and then sometimes they won't. Like in certain, right? Like, or maybe when they're with their girlfriend, and then when they're with their boyfriend, like, fuck no, we'll never do that shit. But I think they do want to be like that generally. And then you know how my dad has a cat. He loves his cat, and then right now he was just teaching me how he was like, look how he runs with this toy, like he's so cute, like, you know, that's a little bit more like feminine-ish. I mean, not really, because like dogs, but he really loves the cat. He's like, oh, I'm gonna buy him like an outfit, like just, you know, very like, and I'm like, oh my god. So it's proof that they can do that, but maybe it's more so with things that they want to do it with. Yeah, like if they don't want to do it with you, then they don't want to do it with you. But I've also dated guys who would do the things I wanted to do. Yeah. Not many times, but I have had that experience. And it was more so because they care enough about the relationship that if they know that it's important to you, then they'll do it. And they could, and there's also communication. Like, honestly, I don't really want to do that, but I'll try, you know, like I'll try it out. And that mentality is just dating someone with an open mind. Because if they don't have an open mind, they're not going to be open to doing anything like that. Or even like, you know how guys can be kind of a little bit like sexist, like, oh, that's for girls. Like I've also dated a lot of guys who were like that, and I feel like they're probably the ones struggling inside their core. Imagine just being, that's like not it, like no. They're the ones who they deal with that emotion every day. Yeah, I guess I would want someone with a really open mind. I feel like someone who's never struggled with this is like my mother. My mother can make men do anything she wants them to. Like, dude, I swear, like, if I don't know, she literally, like, with my stepdad and stuff, like, she would tell him to do things and he would do it. Like, I don't know if she's a Libra or what, but like Libras have this charm where they just like make you do stuff. They do. Like, have you seen, I don't know if you guys know who Sol Leon is and her husband. Like, I feel like she's made him do a bunch of things. Like, and the men love it. They're like little like dolls for Libras. Like, they literally like make them do whatever they do. Well, my mom's like the power, like the power that they hold to like literally, they hold so much power. Libra woman, oh my god, like they hold so much power. Yeah, we what's it called? Like, since we have like our Libra mothers, and obviously like we're not Libras, and I feel like in general in the zodiac, we could say that like our signs are more like strong, like they have more like actitud than like a Libra. Like if you talk to Libra, then you know. I've also met different Libras that are have a little bit more like they don't go with the flow. Like they'll say what's up with it. My mom is a little bit like that too. Like sometimes she'll be saying what's up with it. But to me though, to their close people, Libras to everyone else, they get along with everyone. Like especially like I think I know more about the women. I don't know a lot about the men, but like Kim, I think that's part of like Kim's charm. Like they're just so balanced, and they say that it's the most feminine sign ever. Like, and from hanging out with them like firsthand, I feel like it's because they're willing to like go with anything, and they just like don't take anything personal. Like, and even if they do take it personal, they get over it. So you're forced to just not take anything they do personal.
Yeah.
And if you're like, you know what I mean? Like they reflect a lot of like, remember I told you the relationship you have with the Libra is a relationship that you have with yourself, because they're like a mirror. I read it. They're like karmic or something.
Yeah, I feel like everyone needs a Libra woman in their life, and we're blessed to have many because our mothers are Libras. Yeah. But they're so chill. Like I would want to be a Libra. I don't know actually, because but that's because I'm a Virgo, so mine sign is really sometimes not compatible with Libras, because Virgos really like to do, and Libras are like. So I think in that way we kind of like.
But you couldn't date one.
No. Oh,
that's different.
God, no.
I wouldn't date one either.
But that's because I don't like Libra men.
I would be a Libra 100%. I would never date a Libra. Because I just can't. I just cannot. Because I've seen like situations, and it's just like, no. And I've met some too. But you know that I've never even really dated one? No, ni se me atraen, girl. Like they don't even like come to me. And they don't even come to you. Oh, no. They kind of do. Well, she's had some experiences. They don't even want me. They don't want me at all. That's because Scorpio women, like if you're Scorpio and you're watching this, are like, we struggle so hard. They say that because Scorpios are masculine and feminine. Like, I think I need to be with I need to be with the man that's like right here. Like he's lit chill.
That I feel like me too. I need a man who's in his feminine.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm a masculine. Like I am. And this is not because like this is not an opinion. This is a fact. When I do my chart, so there's like 10 feminine and masculine. So you can have 5 feminine, 5 masculine, and then you're more balanced. Or you can have whatever, it's 10. Like 10 elements I think that make you either feminine or masculine. Mine is 9 masculine, 1 feminine.
Really?
Yes. And I could feel it. I know it. Like I feel that I am in my masculine. And as hard as I try sometimes to be in my feminine, it's really hard. But I do really try because I want to be feminine. But I have come to the conclusion that I will have to be with a more feminine man. And that doesn't mean that he's girly pop. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it just means that he will allow me to kind of take over a little bit when I need to, and like be a little bit more dominant in certain things, and just like, chill. And he won't tell me what to do. I can't handle that. Like, I just can't handle being told what to do or be given like directions. I don't like that. I like to have my own direction, and I just need someone to kind of accompany me, and obviously I need someone who likes to be, submissive. To be more submissive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which in a guy, it sounds weird, but I swear, like, it's not weird.
It's out there.
And I know it's out there. Yeah.
For sure. I think I have 8. Mine's either 8 masculine and 2 feminine. Like, it's pretty high. Or it's 7. If it's not 7, it's 8. Like, it's pretty. And a lot of the guys I've dated, and the ones I've dated for long, I've done their charts and they have more feminine. Or if they don't have more feminine, they have equal. And those are the only ones I can get along with. And, like, I'll make them think that they're in charge, and I will. You guys know I have my favorite signs. For like an earth sign, I'll make them think they're in charge. I'll be like, yeah, I'll go along with anything. But in my head, I never really fully come to any conclusion. I think always what I want to think, and I think it's probably because I have like an Aries moon, so Aries are very like independent and like we get bored. So we're like, honestly, like I'm gonna just go along with whatever, and like I don't really care. So I like that also about me, that I'm able to do that. But I will only do it to a guy I respect. Remember we're talking about this? Like I'll let them take leadership if I think that I can respect you. If I can respect you, then I'm not gonna let you tell me what the fuck to do. Like, fuck, I don't even respect you. Fuck no. And I think that's the problem, right? When we try to date, like, it's like, to find someone that I can let them like kind of give me their input, because I generally trust their opinion is hard. I don't trust a lot of people's opinion. I feel like they're trying to like, I don't know, I always have trust issues, and it's hard for me to do that. And I've only been able to do it with people that like I know when I'm not there, they're acting accordingly. That already sounds so like controlling, but that's always a problem that I have. I'm like, I don't want to date a guy that like is just too friendly. I hate those type of guys. Like, I need someone that's gonna act chill when I'm not there. Like, also, I don't like rude people. Like, I want a guy that's nice, like someone that can be nice and like and be chill. Because there's guys that are way too nice, huh? Like, way too
don't
nice.
be too on that friendly shit.
But like with girl, like don't be on that friendly shit. Because I'm not on that friendly shit, especially when I'm like in like a situation. I won't be on that friendly shit.
I like charming and like yeah, like they have a charm, like they get along with everyone kind of, but not friendly. Like, I don't know, there's a difference. Like, there's a difference where you're nice and when you're too friendly.
Yeah,
too friendly, I can't. No, get out of here. Like, no, I can't. But I don't know.
I know what you mean though. There's such a thing as like too friendly. It's so crazy though. That's why you have to have open communication. Like, we were talking about this yesterday. It's like things can bother someone, and then like there's so many things that bother girls that wouldn't necessarily bother guys, and then there's things that bother guys and don't bother girls. Like, and we just will never understand, you know. And then there's guys who things don't bother them, and like you just don't. But I always put myself in their shoes, and honestly, a lot of things I do would bother me if I were a guy. Like, I would really get bothered. So I understand why they feel the way they do, but I always think, well, God, you made me a woman though, and like, so I'm a girl, I'm gonna do what I want. But I can understand why they're like that, because it's like men are in this world where they have to perform all the time, and like they have to provide, and like that's just how they are. And I was by also growing up with my father, like their number one thing is just to like provide. Like, I really think that that's what they think, or just kind of like achieve, or just like do what they need to do, you know. And we have more room to explore a lot of sides of ourselves. So when women now can come into the workplace, and now there's women who have a lot more money than men and all these things, it's hard for them to like really accept that. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for them, and now they have to do both. Like, fudge. I get it, because you go out with a guy, like, you know, like the standards that he has to pay for you, and then all this, and then now you're dealing with girls are listening to this podcast, and then they're like, fuck that, I'm not gonna do what you say. Like, it's an interesting time for people. I think it's really hard to date right now. It's probably the worst time right now.
I think so. Yeah. I don't want to give anyone like sad thoughts or like negative thoughts, that it's, you know what, it's always a great time for everything. That's what I think. It's always a great time for everything. And you know what, let's not fear anything, because we're already, as women, we're already paranoid, like the study said. So I want to think that there is someone, because if there's someone, I always think, if there's someone like me, if there's someone like you, there's a boy that's like you, that's perfect for you, because he's just like you. You're single and you're a good woman, and you go to therapy and you're trying to get healthy, and you're single. You should be taken right now. Like, you should be wifed up.
You should be
but
taken.
You're not, like, right?
But I'm not. See, but you know why? Like,
but because you respect yourself, and you're not gonna get just any man.
So you think that he's
so there is a man out there that's in his healing. But he ain't just gonna choose any woman. He's waiting for the woman.
But how do you find them though? See, that's the thing.
That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know how to tell you that.
I feel like whenever, like, see, even when she said, like, there is a guy perfect for you, like, isn't like, I'm like, there's a guy just like it. That sounds really great. Like, sounds a little too great. And from like my like talks with my therapist, it's that no one is the right person. Like, you can't even see that like I'm the perfect friend. Like, no one is the right person. No one will ever be the right person. And I think that the only reason that relationships last is people that are willing to work with you. There's people who are willing to work with you. Like, there's people who are not willing to work with you. And it's not anything about you. It's just that they're just not willing to do that with you. Like, they're going to do it with someone else. Why that happens is just that maybe you guys are just not connecting on the same level. And I feel like that's why, like, when you date a guy, the most important thing, too, is someone that, like, cares enough about you that they're willing to, like, change. And, like, there's not that many men that go to therapy. And I've met a lot of men that are like really nice. Obviously, they're really nice. But I don't like nice guys. And I want to date guys that are like, confuse me. But that's my problem. So I feel like when a guy comes and probably gives me everything that I asked for, I'm going to be really scared because I don't know how to accept that. That's really scary to me. Like, oh my God, now I'm going to have to share my life with someone and like get real vulnerable. That's scary because I don't want to do that. Like now I don't even want to do that with myself. And it's hard to like look yourself in the mirror and be like, wow, you have these flaws. Like you don't want to like talk about that. And now I have to. Like, oh, heck no. And every other relationship is very easy. Like mom, me, dad, me, friends, me, but a relationship is really scary. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, like that sounds scary. Like imagine they're like, okay, Giselle Sarah, your puzzle man coming to the door. Like, what do I do with them? What do I do?
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't be ready. I would be like, no, I don't want it. Even if it's perfect, I don't care. I don't want it because I'm not ready. I'm not in that place where I can accept even perfection right now. And perfection doesn't exist. You're never going to find the perfect man. But that's why I like to use the analogy that I know there's a boy like me out there because I'm not perfect. And he doesn't mean that he's perfect. Just because I'm saying he's like me doesn't mean that I'm saying he's perfect. What I mean by that is that there's someone that's learning out there and that's trying to also find someone and that's thinking maybe I won't be able to find anyone, but I'm still working on myself, I guess, and like I'm just gonna keep going. Then I know if there's 7 billion people, even if he's across the country, maybe, I don't know, but I know there's actually many people that are probably like me. So. And I'm not just thinking about this certain person. There could be thousands of people who would fit in this category. But I think, I don't know, also not romanticizing too much. Like, oh, like my Prince Charming. Because that also, you know, that probably doesn't exist. I mean, I think you can make it a reality and you can work towards that. But I don't know. The perfect man is not going to come. And just like the perfect job is never going to come to your doorstep and the perfect body is never gonna. You have to work towards all these things: relationships, fitness, anything. Like the perfect meal plan is never gonna come to your door. Nothing ever perfect is gonna come. So I think everything is a work in progress.
Yeah, I agree. Like sometimes, like yesterday I didn't apologize because that wasn't an apology, but I had a situation where I think I did something that someone was trying to tell me that they hurt their feelings. I don't know, me, I can't even accept that I hurt someone's feelings because it's very hard for me to accept I hurt anyone's feelings. But and I knew that I had hurt this person's feelings or that they were somehow affected by my actions. And I knew for a couple of days. And I'm usually an anxious attachment and I would reach out and freak out. But I also have a lot of masculine energy, so when I know that people are vulnerable towards me, I get icked. I'm like, ugh. And when people come on too much, I turn opposite. I'm having a really hard time dealing with that right now. I'm still working through it, and I'll get really frustrated. I don't want people to put their emotions on me. I'm like, no, I'm not dealing with that. But when I have my emotions, I want them to deal with me, but they don't. Those people kind of don't like come on to me when they're frustrated, you know. And I noticed that this person, like, they would never like call me 100 times or be like, ugh. But once I said I was like, oh, I'm sorry for it, and they didn't respond well, I got really frustrated. But I'm like, you know what? I can't be doing that because, I mean, I know this person, so I can deal accordingly with them. But like when we apologize to someone, we need to also be like, they don't need to accept they can like take it, but doesn't mean they have to forgive me. And that's been something that I was thinking about yesterday. I'm like, damn, like even if I do apologize, like doesn't mean that they're gonna fuck with me. Like, damn, they might not fuck with me, and I need to be prepared and able to accept that. And I think that in relationships sometimes we have to apologize a lot too, because it takes like a certain level of accountability to be like, you know what, like that was wrong, and I need to accept that I did that. And this is not like a serious relationship, of course it's not, but it was a situation where I probably did something wrong, and if that person did the same thing, I would have been really upset. Yeah. And I didn't remember, so I was not gonna reach out and be like, ugh. But I was reading a book and about like your shadow self, and I was like, you know what, like I'm scared. I think I'm not reaching out because I'm scared that this person's gonna be like, you're this and you're that, like, or I don't know, something. I'd just rather not say anything. But it's not really in my persona to be scared about like what people are gonna think, because I've always been more fearful of the unknown. Like, what if I never reach out and this person dies? I'm a very extreme person, so I put a lot of like thought into those things. So like, you know what, whatever, I'll say sorry. If they don't take it, then okay, I guess I'll cry about that later. But I'm glad that I did that because it showed me that, you know, it's sometimes we do need to say sorry. And even if they don't forgive us, at least you said it. Right? So it's important also in relationships to do that too. Like, you never know, you might hurt your partner's feelings, and it's not okay to just brush things off, because that just hurt situations. And maybe me and this person's friendship could have ended because I never reached out.
Yeah. I think apologizing is a big thing. It's still really hard for a lot of people, I think, especially like for me, it's really hard to apologize. I don't like apologizing because I'm gonna make it a personal thing, but because I think that what if they don't even know what I'm apologizing? I mean, unless I make it clear that I hurt their feelings, but I don't like apologizing without them saying first that I hurt them, because what if I'm just making it up and now they think it's an actual issue? I always think about that. And I'm like, oh, now I'm going to make it a thing. And they didn't even think about it like that. Now I'm apologizing to them. And like, now, like, they're going to be like, oh, like, next time I say something similar, like, they're going to be like, she meant it like this. But I always think that. But that's because I'm an overthinker, Virgo. I overthink everything that I say. And not because I think it'll make me weak. I just don't want them to now view it as an issue. Like, what if they ignored it? I've always been like that. My mom, like, remember one time we got in a fight and she told me that, like, a big thing about me is that I could be like cowardly sometimes, and I agree. And I've told my therapist, like, I feel like sometimes I'd rather just not talk about things because I don't want things to come up. And maybe that's how you felt in that situation. If I apologize, things are going to come up and I'm not ready for that. But my therapist told me that's okay. If you're not ready to talk about something and you're not ready to confront it, it's better, because you're not going to come at it in a good way. If he would have reached out that same day that he told you, hey, like, I feel like this, things would have not flowed well. You need to be ready when you're ready to apologize. And I've always thought that if you're not ready to apologize, if you don't want to apologize, you don't, I mean, unless you did something really messed up, but like, you need to apologize when you're ready. Yeah. Not that you shouldn't, just because you don't feel like it and you want to be snobby, like, I don't want to apologize, I don't have to. No, not like that. Like, you need to do things when you're ready emotionally and mentally in your heart, because things are not going to come out right. And I feel like if you would apologize that same day, maybe there could have been an argument. I feel like now that you apologize in this way, and you did it in like kind of like a funny way, and you did it on your own terms and how you knew how to apologize, because that's what you know best, then it was smooth, right? But who knows what would have happened if you would have done it in that moment. You need time to think. Even if you were the one who messed up, just because you're the one who messed up doesn't mean I can't have time to think about my actions. Like, I need to think, and I need to think what I'm gonna say. Yeah, because you don't want to say the wrong thing either. And isn't that interesting that I wait, like, she knows that, like, I be like tripping, and I be like, oh my god, and I like to go through things really quickly. I don't know if it's like I always do things very quickly, and sometimes it works in my favor. Again, sometimes it doesn't work in my favor. And this was one of the few times where I took a little bit of days, and I'm usually not like this. I'll like really like get down to the core quickly. But it helped me because I was like, well, I don't really know how I feel, and I don't really have those issues. Usually I do know how I feel. So to not know how I feel sometimes about a situation, it causes me a lot of distress, because I feel like I'm in tune with my emotions all the time, that when I'm not, I'm like, oh my god, like, is it possible that I feel nothing right now? I'm like, oh my god, because that's crazy to me. But I've been really peaceful lately. Like, I've been really like going to therapy. I've been taking a lot of time alone. I've been reading a lot. And when I do those type of things, I slow down. And me and my therapist think that the number one issue with like my behavior is that I don't slow down, and that like I do things abruptly. So I did that for that sake, and I'm glad that I still reached out, because I would have felt bad, and I always feel really bad when I don't apologize. So I'm like, oh my god, like probably I think it's a learned behavior from my father, because like I said, he would always do that to me. So I'm like, okay, he'll apologize, like, it's fine. So he taught me a very important thing, but also it can kind of be like a two-sworded knife, because sometimes I've apologized to people and I'm like, I don't know if I had that issue, or I'll think back to relationships, I'm like, damn, I don't know if it was actually my fault. I don't have anything to apologize about. You know, so I'm glad I thought about it, and then I was like, okay, you know, I'm gonna do it in a silly way. I'll just like kind of like talk about it, but I don't have to like make it a huge thing. But I had to take some time, because I was like, you know what, at the end of the day, it wasn't really that serious. I mean, she knows what I'm talking about. Like, it wasn't really that serious, but it wasn't. If it was done to me, I'd be pissed. Yeah, it wasn't serious, but if it was done to us, we'd be pissed. But I feel like I'm generally nice, you know, and if someone tells me like that was fucked up, like, I'll consider your opinion. I'll consider it, because I like to think that there's endless like thoughts and like opinions in this world that I don't always know what I'm thinking about, and I'm only thinking of things from my little box, my little 4-eye, like, you know. And this person thought that was really
frustrating. And so, you know, I have to accept it. I don't want to, but I'm like, damn.
Yeah, and even if you don't think it's a bit fucked up, like they can still think think it's fucked up, and that's okay. And I've dealt with that issue my whole life. I'm an only child. I've never had to apologize to siblings, to no one. I don't apologize because I grew up, you could say, maybe not spoiled with money, but spoiled with a lot of love from my mom. So she never made me apologize to anyone. I wasn't rude, but I just kind of like did my own thing as a little kid. So I think now dealing with it in my adulthood is real, because I need to apologize. I'm an adult. I'm gonna mess up, and I need to apologize to other adults. But it's really difficult for me even now because I never practiced that as a child, and it's really hard for me to apologize. But I would like to think I'm working on it, and now that I even know it's an issue for me, then I can work towards it. But that's why I understand why you didn't. I don't know if I would have either. It's like, it's hard to, and no, I don't want to. It's way better to not deal with things sometimes. Like, let's just put it on the back burner for now, and then we'll deal with it later. Because right now, it's just not. There's no time for it. And even if it is the time, I don't want to deal with it. And that's it. That's all. Sometimes my therapist told me that it's okay if you don't know how to deal with things. And sometimes you don't know how to respond to things. And that's okay. I remember recently, my mom, I've noticed that people have been willing to be a little bit more open with me and tell me my flaws, which I love, because I was just talking to this about my therapist. I like it because at least I know that they're willing to, there's a change obviously in me because you're willing to be a little bit more open to me. So that helps me. But my mom told me, she was like, I feel like you're being a little bit rude to me right now. Recently, she told me that. And I was like, And I got really mad that she told me that, because I was like, like, why are you telling me that? I don't feel like I'm being rude. But I was kind of being rude to her. Now, looking back, she was like, oh, like, I feel like no, she said, these are her words, like, me regañas. Sometimes me regañas. Like, you tell me things and you get frustrated with me instead of telling me, like, just do it like this. I'm like, Mom, no, don't do it like that. Like, I get frustrated with her. And I was like, I could either be really offended by, like, oh my God, you think I'm rude, like, blah, blah, blah. Or I could be like, wow, she's opening up and she's willing to tell me things. And I kind of dissected it with my therapist, and it's because I'm not setting boundaries with my mom. So I get easily frustrated with her because I'm not setting any boundaries with her. Like, me and her do not have boundaries. So she keeps like picking at me sometimes and telling me things, and then I kind of pop off and I'm like, don't tell me that. Or like, sometimes she'll tell me like things about like what I'm wearing or like things like that, and I get really upset, and then I'm like, and then she thinks I'm being mean, but I'm not being mean. It's just because, well, I guess, yeah, to her I am being mean, but she keeps picking at me and like going like stepping over my boundaries, and then, but I'm not setting them, so it's not her fault. So I guess that whole thing is like a thing that I need to go into, and I obviously I want to apologize to my mom, be like, you know what, I'm really sorry if I made you feel that way. And even though it's really hard for me, even to think that I have to apologize is really hard, but I know I have to do it, especially because it's my mother and I love my mother and I would never want her to feel that way. But I do need to start being like, okay, look, it's because I need this and this and this. If that gets stepped over, then probably I'm going to act a little bit rude because you keep picking at me. You know what I mean? And I bet you've experienced that with your mom too, like where they keep picking at you and like they keep picking, and then they start telling you things about what you should do with your life, and like, you need to do like this and this and this, and then you need to do this, and then you need to do it at this time, and then blah, blah, blah. It's like, stop. Like, I'm an adult.
It's like too much sometimes.
It's too much. Like, don't tell me what to do. Like, please don't tell me what to do. And I know it's because she wants the best for me, and like, she's my mother obviously, but I'm like, stop. Stop. No more opinions. No more opinions. No more. Like, stop it. And it is really frustrating, but I am going to apologize to my mother because sometimes I could get really frustrated, but it's because I don't set boundaries. I feel like with anyone, honestly, with no one in the world, I've like been like, hey, when this and this happens, that's a boundary for me. Can't step over that. I think I let a lot of that slide, and then I get really frustrated.
Yeah. And that makes sense, because if you think about it physically, like if someone keeps like going like this, and you're like, okay, you know, just whatever, stop. Right there, you're like, stop, right? You get frustrated. And I think that sometimes we think that we learn. It's a learned behavior to not set boundaries. My dad is the same way. Like, he does not set boundaries with people either. But I used to have a very like, my dad's emotion, he's, like I said, he was very emotional. He used to always I used to be blamed a lot for his emotions. Like, dad's sad, it's because you, this, that. But I'm like, ugh. One day I kind of just snapped and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done having dad's emotions on me. I'm like, I'm my own human and whatever. It's really hard to accept, especially as Mexicans, I think, to not take things personally. But our parents are their own adults and they handle their own emotions the way they need to handle. And sometimes it's really sad. And like, I want my dad to feel like a certain way with me, but I'm like, you know what? I need to do what I need to do to make myself happy, because if I'm not, I'm going to be rude to him. Like, sometimes I feel a lot of pressure to like wake up early when he wants me like to hang out with me, but I'm really tired and I can't do that. And I think as Mexicans, like, we're taught like, you guys have to be with your family, like this and that. But I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I will find another time sometimes to hang out with him, but sometimes I can't do the things the way he wants me to do, and I'm going to disappoint him, and I need to be okay with that fact. And I think sometimes it's really hard. We don't want to do that. And our parents don't want to do that to us. So they teach us, I'm always be there for you. I'm always be there for you. Which, of course, our parents are always there for us. But I think it's important, especially when you have your own kids, to be like, you know what? I want my child to know I'm always going to be there for them, but to not coddle people either and be like this. Because I feel like my dad's like that with me, and he's like that with my sister and with everyone. So I learned to be like that too, to always want to help people and go the extra mile to help people. But sometimes people don't appreciate it. And it's not because they don't care about you or like they don't appreciate it. It's just that some people don't need that all the time, and sometimes you hurt people by doing that instead of helping them. You know how they tell you in therapy, like, and I've learned this for myself too by just watching my behaviors when I feel like I've done something wrong. Where I talk about like, I'll feel like, oh my god, let me do this for this person or that because I didn't act. I don't know how to like properly say, hey, that what I did was messed up, so let me just overexert myself. But that just hurts me. And for last year, I feel like I did that so much. I felt like SpongeBob with no water, and then I have nothing to give. So I've been practicing that with my niece too. I'm like, she calls me all the time, and I'm like, and I love that you're able to call me and like you have that relationship with me. I'm like, but sometimes I need to do my things, and I don't have kids, and I'm glad that I get to share that relationship with her, but I can't always be there exactly when she wants me to be. And sometimes I'm doing my own things, or I'm working out, or I'm doing this, and I need that time for me. And I've talked to my therapist about it. She's like, you need to fill your own cup before you go help other people. And that's why I try to like wake up early and get the things I need to do early, and then I'll go hang out with my dad, and then I'll go do that, because if not, it's in the back of my head, and then I take it on other people. And I don't like how I act when I'm like that. I start to get like, I get kind of cranky, and I know I can get like that. And I'm also already like kind of nitpicky, and I'll start being like, this and that and this and that. And I don't like being like that, because I want to be in a relaxed state. Like when I'm working and I'm doing stuff, or I'm hanging out with friends, I want to be lit chill, and I can't be lit chill when I haven't done things I need to do. And that's just how my brain works. But I told her that. I was like, you know what? I was like, you can call me. I'm like, but if I'm busy, I'm like, I just can't. You can't. Like, I know she was like calling you. And I started getting really frustrated, because I'm like, I told my therapist she's calling like my friends. And I'm glad that you and her have that relationship. I'm like, but then you know how it makes you kind of feel. I'm like, oh my God, now I feel like I have a burden. You have a burden on her too. I'm like, oh my God, no. And I don't like that. I don't want that to happen. But yeah, I had to place those boundaries, and my therapist told me to kind of just talk to her like that, like, you know what, I'm glad that you have a relationship with me and Sarah, but sometimes we're not going to be able to do that, and I don't want to start overexerting myself and going and picking her up when I can't, because that's already starting an unhealthy boundary, and then one day I'm going to snap, and I don't want to do that, you know what I mean? So I'm practicing it with her, which is good to practice those things like with your mom or close people, so later you can practice them with others, because it's hard to practice them, I think, with like new people, because you don't want them to go away. Like, what if I'm too mean, right? And they don't want to talk to me no more.
Yeah. I think with like even my new friendships, it's hard, because like sometimes I know I can't do things with certain people, but like I don't want them to think I'm being mean with like my new friendships. So like I still want to make time for my new friendships or my old friendships, because I feel like sometimes I don't make time, because I am genuinely very busy these days. Like I genuinely can't, like, either we're always working, we have the podcast, like tomorrow we have like a work thing, like we're honestly really busy, and I'm not doing it from a bad place, but sometimes I have really hard times telling people that I can't do things. And I have like certain friends that always like hit me up. And recently one of my friends, like I hadn't answered her, so she texted me like, hey, how have you been, let's hang out soon. And then I didn't answer, and then she texted me yesterday, hello, question mark, sad face. And I was like, that's kind of sweet, because I would never like double text a friend. Like if I were her, I would already think, oh, she doesn't fuck with me, like she keeps posting and she never answered my text. And like, but I thought it was really sweet that she didn't take it personal. She knows that like she figures that I'm busy and like that I can't. And obviously I'm like, that's kind of a healthy mindset. She knows she didn't do anything wrong, so she can double text me. If it was me, I'd be like, did I do something to her? Like, does she hate me now? Like, does she not want to talk to me? And so then I was like, hey, like I've been thinking about you, like let's hang out soon, whatever. So I was like, that's sweet. And I need to learn from people like that are not scared to reach out more than once. And I've noticed that I get a lot of people that are like that who are not scared to reach out, and they want to talk to me, and like they'll double message me, they'll call me all the time. But I like that but I don't think it's good all the time, because I'm relying on them for the friendship to be like keep running. Because if it were up to me, I don't know when I would have answered her. I mean, when I remembered, but I wish honestly I would have answered sooner. So I need to be more like a little bit not scared to reach out and be like, hey, do you want to hang out? I don't think I've ever asked someone to hang out, honestly. Like maybe a couple times, or like to her because she's my really close friend, but like to other people, I don't think I have. It's really, really hard for me to like ask people to hang out. Usually people ask me, and I like that because that's in my comfort zone. But now this year, hopefully I can reach out to more people. Even saying that, but hopefully I can reach out. But then I close myself. I'm like, I don't even need friendships. No. I don't need friendship. Friendships are a distraction. I don't need it. But actually, for women, it's really important for us to have female friendships. And if you don't have female friendships, it's like smoking a pack of cigarette a day. Did you know that's crazy? Like, what the heck? Like, even your health gets affected if you don't have female friendships. And like when I was in relationships, I would never have female friendships. When I was with my man as fuck, and I was cuffed up and wifed up, I didn't give a fuck about no female friendship. I was with my man 24/7, and whatever he said was right. And even I don't know if we've ever told you guys the story, but even we stopped talking for a while because of our mans. Yeah. Like they didn't like each other. A falling out. Maybe we'll say this in the next podcast. Probably our time is almost up, but we literally had a falling out for a while because our men didn't like each other. Oh, so now we don't have to like each other. Like we literally gave up on our friendship of years because of two potatoes. Like what the heck?
Our men have never liked each other. Actually, fun fact. I wonder why.
Yeah, but that's for another time we'll get into. But yeah, I remember like
it's 1 hour and 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Let's wrap it up. But yeah, I remember thinking like when we weren't talking for that time, I remember always thinking like, oh my God, I really need to tell her this. Like I really need to tell her this right now. And I would get really frustrated that I didn't have anyone to talk to. And at that time I was still talking to her friend Diana a little bit. So like I remember I had a lunch with her a couple of times, and I would tell her like, do you know about Giselle? Like, do you know what she's doing and like what she's up to? And she's like, oh no, I don't really know. Like, honestly, I haven't talked to her either. And I'm like, ugh. And I was like, oh, I wonder what her opinion, what would she do? Or like, but I'm like, I'm not going to reach out because I'm a stubborn headed, and I'm like that to this day, which I need to fix, but that's also for another topic. But I remember always thinking like, oh, what would she do in this situation? Like, what would she tell me? And like, what would be her opinion on this fight that I just had with my mans? Like, what would be her opinion? But that honestly did get me through a lot of things, thinking like, what would she tell me? And because she has such a different mindset than me, and that would get me through a lot of things. Like, oh, like I know she would do it this way, so I'm gonna try to do it this way too. And we weren't even friends, but I was like, I'm gonna do what she would do, and I would always think things like that. But yeah, female friendships are important.
And then you did tell me, right? I think when we did speak, the first thing she said after she was like, I need to tell you this. And I was like, shook. I was shook. And the only way that I got myself to reach out was because I would talk to my mans. I'm like, oh, I really want to tell her. I'm like, I think I just speak. And he was like, well, yeah, you should. He never gave me good advice, but that time he did. For some reason, that moment he really spoke. He was like, well, you should if you feel like it. And I think that's kind of how it's a learned thing, though. I swear, like, I don't feel like you should put too much pressure on yourself too either. It's a learned behavior. You learned it sometime it happened, and you learned it as a coping mechanism. Like, I need to not speak because it's taking me nowhere, and you just kind of keep doing it. And I think mine's kind of the opposite, where I'm like, I think I was placed on like I need to like
comfort people and comfort my dad. So I was always trying to make my dad feel better. So I was the opposite. So I think I need to reach out and make everyone feel better. And I'm always the type to be like, let's do this and that and this. I'm very much that kind of vibe. But it's also been very draining. So you can see that there's two sides to being like that. Like you feel like you need to do that, and I feel like I've done it too much. And sometimes I overexert myself, and I go, and my therapist is like, do you ever like just take a breather? I'm like, yes. I'm like, I'm by myself. I'm like, whoa, that was a lot. And it makes me really like, oh my God, I'm like, my emotions are always on go, because I'm like, let's do this and that, this and that, and it's too much. So I have the opposite. Remember I told you in the beginning, my new thing is that I'm gonna slow down. And the like couple people that I make time for, I'm like I'll make time for them. I'm like, but I also need to take accountability. Like sometimes I also don't answer people because I put my career first, and it's sad. I'm like, God, I wish I didn't have to do that, but I'm like, it's just what's going on.
Yeah.
But it is hard, especially when you're grinding towards something.
Yeah.
You want to be there for everyone, and you want to make time for everyone, but you don't want people to feel bad, and then you're like this, you don't want to say no.
Yeah.
But I think as an adult, you know, and if you're dealing with an emotional adult who thinks about things, they don't take things personally. I think I've also noticed that they don't take, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I was busy, and they're like, oh my God, she like, thank you for making time for me. You know, it's always good to be like, thank you for spending this time with me, because sometimes we don't do that. We just expect everyone to make time for us, which is also not okay.
Yeah. No, yeah. And like now as adults, I know like everyone is busy, everyone has their schedules and things like that, but I mean, it's okay. We're learning, and it's only up from here. At least we know all these things. That's what I always think. At least you know. The first step to recovery is to know. And we know. So we're working towards it. Also, I heard that if you know and you don't do anything about it, it's like psychopathy. But so now I'm like, I need to work towards it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next episode. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, because like 50% of you guys are not subscribed. So you guys need to subscribe. It's free and you won't miss an upload. So yeah, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.